Ladies and gentlemen, we want to welcome you here to the truncated second season for F1 2021's XRL League for their Dev Development Series. It's the first race of their season at the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. I'm your host for today's broadcast, InsaneLeader13. I am being joined today by Alex Haig.
Hello.
Alex, it's a pleasure to share a booth with you today as we prepare to get underway for this event. For those of you not super familiar with the way XRL works, full qualifying, normal 3 sections of qualifying where first 20 guys go into Q3, then the 15 fastest go into Q2, and then the 10 fastest from Q2 go into Q1 for the pole shootout. Then we run a 50% race length for the main race itself. So today's broadcast will take about 2 hours, give or take some time depending on delays, yellow flags, shortness of qualifying, etc. Hey, new season, a lot of drivers who had been in Dev last year have now gotten a chance to move up into the X3, X2, X1 category. Some of them have decided to separate and part ways from XRL altogether. We're looking at a lot of new faces and a lot of old veterans that still like to use the Dev series as a practice for their weekend events that they do at other times. In your opinion, who should we be looking for to put on a good show to start off this season?
Well, I do know a few of these drivers. I know Reese N13. I raced him in one of the leagues. He is very quick, very good driver. I do know H.A. Bagger as well, who's also quite a fast driver as well. And Zola, I haven't seen much of him, but I'm pretty sure he's a good driver. So they're the ones I actually know in here. So that's what I'm about to say. But I guess we'll have to see.
First driver out onto the circuit is Herbinator in the Williams. You talk about Zola, so both Zola and Lopez, who happen to be teammates for today's race, they're both pretty much the two main heads that really get the XRL series going. I don't get to watch Lopez race a lot, sadly. I have gotten to watch Zola race a lot. He is an X2 regular and also does broadcasts sometimes for X1 on Sundays as well. He also runs this kind of as a test bed, as he kind of shows up here as being a marker for other drivers to chase after. There are other drivers, Kinsey Retro, Level 6 Beastian, Herbago, TF, Mr. Shark, a lot of other people here who have experience. They're all kind of end up being kind of like representatives of what pace would be like in their tiers. Zola is kind of low to mid X2 tier pace.
Yeah.
He's not very good at qualifying usually, but when the race itself, he's very good at calling strategies and even turning very, very poor race pace into great race finishes. Zola honestly has a lot of very, very good talent, and he has won plenty of races in the Dev before. So no, you make a good point. I think subconsciously you may not have seen him much, but I think subconsciously you also realize that he's got some talent, at least by Dev standards.
Oh yeah, no. I do commentary with EFL as well. He's an absolutely great guy. So, great person in this league. As we now go with Herbinator13, who's just starting his lap now. On the soft.
TAF Mr. Shark, who is in the Alpine right now, he's in the Alpine right now. He's currently navigating his way into turns 19. Big thing to consider, Circuit of the Americas, track limits are very important, but something else very important, right now we only have 15 cars on track. Unless the 16th driver shows up before this time is over, that's it. All 15 of these drivers are guaranteed to go on into the next section of qualifying, assuming none of them, totaled their cars or anything.
Yeah.
For all intents and purposes, that's probably one of the main reasons why we're seeing a lot of drivers out there turning laps on medium rubber. Herbago, Arctic Prodigy, Reese N13, Kinsey Retro, XRO Jigsaw, JR Footballer, Lopez, Pure FC, all these drivers turning laps. Oh, and we've had an incident. Herbago has had a spin in his Alpine there at turn 1, and he has damaged his front wing.
I did not end up seeing that. What happened was just oversteer out the first corner on that veranda, because I guess we quite a lot. Those curves are horrible. Although, to be honest, I don't know why I've looked at mediums. I would have done a lap on intermediates, because you have to, that means you're not wasting anything, really.
You're not, so yeah, and that's actually the thing. We used to actually enable it where drivers could go and set a lap in one of the qualifying sessions on wet tires, even if it's dry. But that's no longer allowed. That was suspended from the rules at the start of the prior season. So a lot of people are just like, okay, we'll throw a set of mediums at it then.
Okay, that makes more sense. That makes more sense.
Also, one other thing to consider, because this game is still F1 2021 and they run under the 2021 rule set, we still have the scenario where in Q2, the top 10 fastest drivers, the tires that they set that time on are the tires that they will be required to start the race with. That's not a thing right now in F1's current 2022 real-life season. Right now, you can choose whatever tire you want, and you can start with whatever tire you want through all the sessions. But right now, there's still that element of tire strategy that goes into Q2, so that will still be a factor going forward. That's one of the other reasons why we see a lot of people just tossing a set of mediums on, because they want to save extra softs. I imagine almost everyone we see turning mediums here will try and use at least one set of softs in Q2, or if they're confident that they'll make it into Q3 even without needing to use softs, they're going to probably go and try to set for 3 sets of laps on the soft tires.
Well, my audio is just cut out completely for you there, so I'm just going to agree with what you just said.
Okay, no one tell him that I told you all that I stole $50 from his wallet.
You're assuming I have that much money, bro. I'm broke. I need to put this fucking player over first and then more ketchup. That's not smart. And
well, I'll say this, if you had a nickel for every single time you told me today that you stepped in ketchup, you'd have 2 nickels and you wouldn't be broke. Now, that wouldn't be a lot, but it's weird that's happened. Jigsaw has had an accident there in the Sector 2, and that's coming out of the end of the S's, and that Haas is absolutely destroyed.
Oh, wow. Wait, can I
So Jigsaw, a veteran who has run for a long time in the X3 category, also has some starts in X2 as well, out early on in qualifying here, and he will not advance to the next round.
Suppose everyone just needs to set a lap in the fine now. Oh, hello.
Alright, and coming into the party now is X-Rail Jigsaw. Jigsaw, go ahead and include your audio. Big accident right at the end of the S's. What happened that took you out there?
Oh, it's a good start. It's a new season, isn't it? Just on the throttle a bit too early and went wrong.
No chance to control the streaming?
No traction, no.
Ah, okay, that works like that.
Yeah,
Alright, well, Jigsaw, it looks like it will be a last place starting position for you, but only 15 cars on the grid rather than a full 20. Do you think you can make your ground up from this and still finish in the points, or maybe even go for a podium?
Yeah, man, it's coming home.
I like the confidence.
Alright. Well, we'll definitely keep that in mind then. We'll keep a special eye on you today. You're the only driver representing the Haas team, so good luck out there.
Thank you. It's a good job I'm in Mazepin's car as well, because he can went for a bit of a spin.
The Haas
Alright.
like fucking curses me whenever I drive in it. I swear to God. It's like a curse.
I'm not surprised. I want to say, once again, to Jigsaw, thanks for being willing to jump in and talk with us. Alright, so as it stands right now, Bicyc, too, has just retired his Ferrari in the pit lane. We now are only down to 14 drivers, so we have 4 drivers out on track right now in the middle of outlaps. Most everyone else is on track, but back into the pits. Right now, again, just set a lap. You're pretty much guaranteed to get a lap to make it in. I imagine that for PRUFC, Zola, Shu, Herbago, there's no real incentive to push. Just go out there, set a lap. It could be a 3-minute lap. Just set a lap and you'll be fine.
Reese says, are you allowed to retire the pits? Yes, you are allowed to retire the pits. I've seen many people
Not
do
in
it,
the race
actually.
itself, but yeah, in
Not in the race,
qualifying
but yeah.
you are. In fact, that's one thing I actually do appreciate, especially when you get up to the X1 and X2 tiers. A lot of drivers go out, they know that they've set their best or as close to a best lap as they can early on in the first 2 sessions. They retire quickly, and that means we get normally a shorter gap between qualifying sessions. So that's something I appreciate in this league.
Yes.
All right, Herbago now in the middle of his lap, but I want to take a watch at I want to take a watch at X-Ro Zola and spin a lap on board with him in the Red Bull machine. His teammate Lopez is set at 136.369. The question is, what will Zola do? So what we're going to do is we're going to be silent for a lap on board with him around Circuit of the Americas and see what he's going to spit out for us on track today.
I'm hoping for a good lap from him now, so yep, first time.
Alright, and that's a lap on board with XRO Zola. 6th on the timesheets, 3rd fastest of everyone with the mediums with 134.827. At the top, though, is the McLaren of SFR Shu 381, as he is still circling the track right now in that machine. But everyone has now set a lap time, assuming that no one who hasn't already retired crashes out and destroys their car. Everyone from 1st to 14th is automatically guaranteed a spot in qualifying session 2. This basically at this point becomes a glorified test session. And this is just me. If I was in a position like this, I'd throw on a set of soft tires early on in Q1, fill the car up with a bunch of fuel, and just go and see how far I can push the soft tires. I would be running almost like a emulation of a small stint on the softs and see how far I could push them. That's what I would do in this scenario. No one else likes to do that though, so.
Nah, I think I just do that in a practice session before the race. I don't know, I always end up personally in Q1 just turning off when I was watching TikTok, to be honest. That's all I really do in Q1 when I'm retired. There's not much else to do, really. Do you know what you
Got it. So you're one of the people that are letting Walmart and the Chinese go ahead and shorten your attention span.
Pretty much, yeah. Oh man, it's just Q1. There's not much to do. That's what I'm with it. It's like, because I don't want to waste any more tires. Like Q3, I want to save all my soft wheels as much as I can for Q3, so I can get like 3 runs in, if not 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then just get through comfortably in like the mediums in Q2, so I get a good start tire. So.
Well, speaking of which, well, again, this is only my opinion, and I should clarify, I am no good with the F1 games. My background is more Forza in racing, when racing games, and my background in racing in general is in more American-style backgrounds, NASCAR, and more than anything else, IndyCar. So my opinions are also going to be a lot more skewed than a traditional, more European base. But yeah. No, because that's something else I don't see a whole lot of. I don't see a lot of people going out on circuit and trying to set like 2 or 3 laps in a row on a set of soft tires in Q3. And normally that strategy seems to work out, though, especially if you're one of the first people out. Because if something goes wrong, well, you know you have enough fuel, you can go for another shot. I've seen so many laps in Q3 where everything seems to be hooked up, fuel's nice and low, ERS is fully charged, tires are just getting to that level, and then something happens at the end of the warm-up lap or the start of the flyer, and you've just wasted a set of tires and about 3.5 to 5 minutes. But again, that's just me, and I understand why people do the way they do, because the idea is, well, you put all your eggs in one basket for a crazy lap, you have enough time to do that 3 times, you get 3 shots at it. I don't like that. I absolutely hate having my rhythm broken. When I get out into the circuit, I want to find a rhythm, and I want to stick to it, so.
Yeah, no, it's all to what you like to do on your own. Most people do it differently. It's nothing you really do the same, so that made no sense. I'm too dyslexic for this. It doesn't matter. Anyway.
Well,
you know what,
TAF Mr. Shark has just jumped up to 4th on the timesheets. He is doing somewhat something similar to what I suggested. He's running long on this set of soft tires. This is his 5th lap now that he's turned on this softs. And on that prior lap, he's on! He's going to the wall!
Oh, okay. I'm so glad I was watching for that, because wow, okay. This car is bouncing around on my screen.
And that is the risk of trying to push tires as they're falling off, pushing them harder and harder. Eventually, you run the risk of just running out of grip. And TF Mr. Shark, who had the 4th fastest time just less than a minute ago, is now out and will not advance to the next round of qualifying.
Fortunately not, no. So pretty much, apart from Downstop Gaming, I think is about to go on a lap. He is. I'm not sure why, but you know what? We'll leave him to it.
And Arctic Prodigy, who is in the Williams, is also in the middle of an invalid lap. He's running really slow through the S's, so I have to wonder if he's saving up to go for a really hard bonsai run at the very end here. And then, like I said, Dad Stop Gaming, he is out there. He is on medium rubber right now, so.
Very careful through the S's there for him. I know Chandler is going to be a pain in the ass there. Wait, hang on. I need to ask this. Are we allowed to swear on stream?
You're really not supposed to.
Well, that's fine, I won't then.
But I will also say that, like, I have definitely sworn a few times. You just want to keep it, if you're going to
Minimal.
swear, keep it as minimal as possible.
Yeah.
And when I say as minimal as possible, I'm saying like once a month or something like that. Like, I had a moment, this was in last season, I think it was last season in X3, where someone who I was really pulling hard for crashed out on the last lap at Suzuka, and I basically burnt up like a year and a half worth of swears in that.
Whereas I'm very British and I swear very much a lot, so this is going to be a very difficult rule to follow.
I mean,
We'll put it.
I don't think the term arse or hell would be considered a swear word.
Oh
So,
yeah,
but like, don't be referring to cigarettes by their more British name.
oh
on
no,
stream.
I don't use that. I don't really talk about cigarettes, so that's alright. We're alright though.
Alright, and Dad Stop Gaming aborts, and he was on an outlap and he aborts, so I'm not 100% sure what's going on there, but now it's Herbago's turn. He is on circuit,
Yes, hey, Chibago!
and he is on tires that have 3 laps of wear on them, so he is reusing a set of tires from earlier.
We're just practicing. I assume.
Well, it's kind of a strange thing, though, because there's only about a minute left in the session. He'll probably make it to the start-finish line by that time, but it's really late and a strange time to be trying to set another lap. I'm not 100% sure what his strategy is.
It's fair, it might not be set lap, might just be messing around and got being bored, but if he is set lap, that's really good. I don't think he will be. But...
Well, he's not burning up an extra set of tires, that's for sure. This is a set of tires that he already had used earlier in the session, so...
As those people have already retired, I'm just waiting for these last 5 people. Can I count? Yes, I can count. 5 people. And he is going for another lap.
And yeah, so he wants to see if he can improve on tires that have had a heat cycle going through them. And as we see the clock go to the end here for Q1, I do want to talk a little bit about the concept of tire strategy. I've been a little bit plain and blunt before. I don't really care much for how Formula 1 strategy has become hyper-simplified since about 2010 on. But one element when you do come to tire strategy, though, is that you can go out, set a lap on tires, you know, kind of burn the absolute peak off the tires in a sense, and then you end up what's called with scuffed tires. So we'll see it every now and again. Drivers will go out, get a lap or two on a set of tires, take them off, but they're still usable. What happens is that in a race itself, you can go ahead and you can put scuffed tires on your car. Now you're not, especially, you see it more with the soft tires. It kind of is a thing with the medium, but it's more of a thing with the soft tires. Fresh soft tires take a little bit of time, almost about a full lap to get up to proper operating temperature, but then once they're there, they'll stay there for a bit longer. Scuffed tires have a different sort of advantage to them. You go ahead, you put on a set of scuffed tires, they've already had a heat cycle go through them, they'll get right up to their maximum ability much quicker. Often we'll see it within a sector or so. They don't stay as hot as long though, and obviously their end of lifespan is a little bit closer, but we have seen before the difference between running scuffed rubber and proper fresh rubber can be a few tenths of a second. Not so much in dev, but especially once you get to like X1, X2 level, that few tenths could be a monumental change when it comes to your end of race result. So this may be a case where he's trying to test out what Reynolds' scuffed medium tires are going to be like in the race itself.
I did not know that was even a thing. Wow. Also, where did Herbago end up? He did improve his
Herbago
time. Oh, he stayed
ended
in,
up...
yeah. 8th.
Yeah, he did not improve his time. He's still 8th.
Wait, since it was Reese Welsh, he does not sound Welsh. Wait, hang on. I need to ask Reese this real quick. Hang on.
Well, like, some drivers don't actually have the flags that they actually race under.
Oh yeah, no, I talked to him mostly. He just doesn't sound Welsh. Maybe he's just being stupid, but... Pretty sure I asked him this. Oh, he is Welsh! Oh wow, I did not... Never mind.
I'm just saying, if I was out there and I was turning laps, I'm American, but, you know, for kicks, I would probably race under a Taiwanese flag. or Japanese flag.
I have it under the
Because I'm
Ukrainian flag
ridiculous.
right now, just because obvious reasons.
Yeah, and like Zola is not Ukrainian, but he's been running a Ukrainian flag in respect for the people who are fighting in the Ukraine versus Russia war that's going on right now.
I
Alright.
really hate that. Big on Putin. I hate him. Just
I'm not gonna get too far into that. I'm here to race, and I understand that politics and racing, you know, automatically are very closely intertwined, but
oh, yes,
I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, no, Frodo.
Yeah, I really don't want to talk about that. I don't have an issue with talking about, like, if we're going to talk about, like, historical politic racing intersection. Like, for instance, if you want, I can go ahead and I can talk for a bit about how old pre-Formula 1, back when it was just European Championship, but pre-World War II Formula 1, for instance, was, like, one of the few things that kind of kept Nazi Germany and the British, you know, kind of allied, not necessarily allied, but on somewhat peaceful terms. And that the events that happened in the 39 season was one of the few severances, of those few threads that ended up leading to World War II kicking off, for instance. Like, there's a whole lot of interesting stuff goes back, even back, I think it was like to 26. You had spies who would get into racing. Obviously, they had a bit of a thrill for it, but they would actually get into racing because they thought, hey, we can do this and we can get ahead in social circles and understand the culture, understand how technology is developing, stuff like that. I believe that if my memory serves correctly, the winner of the first ever Monaco Grand Prix in 1926 was actually a spy. So, yeah, it's like old historical, political racing crossovers. Oh yeah, I'm all game to talk about that kind of stuff. I don't want to talk about what's going on now, because that makes me depressed.
Yeah, no,
And
sorry.
Kinsey Retro is also going to be feeling pretty depressed, because he was the first driver to get out on circuit, and invalidated right coming to the final corner. So now he has to go around the entire circuit one more time. That's frustrating.
So they had actual spies. Posers have
Yeah.
drivers.
But again, this is back before it was even called F1. This was back when it was just like European
Grand Prix
Championship
racing,
racing,
that's what it was.
whatever. Yeah.
I don't fucking know that.
Oh, Bicyc! He's had an incident, and that's in turn 2 on the entrance into the S's. Actually, it's closer to turn 3,
Still
and the
with Reese,
Ferrari
you
is
can see-
out.
Yep. That's a big looking crash. You can see
And-
the meat on fire.
And Reese was not anticipating seeing the Ferrari there, and he actually ended up invalidating his lap going by.
Reese, you mong.
So for the lone Ferrari driver for today's race here at COTA, it's going to be a rough start. Looks like he'll be relegated to a 13th place starting position.
We have our 15th driver. It's not too bad. 13th. It's doable. It's just not very ideal. For anyone to be honest, but
Well, we saw one Alpine set a brilliant lap and then crash right afterwards near the end of Q1. The other Alpine, this is Herbago 91, currently on the soft rubber. He looks like he's setting himself up to be the first driver to get a lap in the session, because Kinsey Retro's coming around the final corner right now to end that invalid lap, and he's going to get a proper flyer going now. So Herbago will set the time that everyone else will be chasing. It will be a 133.060 on the soft tire compounds. Now he'll be going right afterwards by SFR Shoes on the mediums with the 134.237. Next driver to cross the line, though, is going to be a little bit of a wait, but it will be XRO Lopez in the Red Bull.
33.0, not that bad of a lap to be fair. And as I've seen, HG Bagger with no assists. Which I didn't actually know when I've raced against him before, so.
Alright, Lopez 34.311, JR Footballer 33.770. So right now Herbago has a firm grip on the fastest time. Now here comes Herbinator out of the final corner, and the Williams, he will set a time of 135.711 on the medium tires. Right now, 13 drivers are in. Basic, we know, is not going to make it in whatsoever, so 2 of these remaining 12 drivers will not advance into the final round of qualifying. The question is who?
Sola goes out for his actual lap now. It is his lap actually, because he had invalidated.
Yep, he's Yeah, and he's just started his lap. Here comes Arctic Prodigy in the Williams. He ran extremely wide at the exit of 20, but kept it legal. Arctic Prodigy 134.481, and now Kinsey Retro will finally get to come across the line to set his time, assuming he doesn't invalidate again in the final corner. Nope. All right, and Kinsey will set 134.989 on the soft tire compounds.
Who is on a lap now? Let's go back to Zola.
Dad Stop Gaming is also on the middle of a lap right now, going through the S's. Zola just farther up the track from Zola's got the DRS open, flying down the back straight as we speak right now. Also, level 6 Beastian is about to begin a flyer. He's in an out lap as he's rounding turn 20. Will begin his flyer shortly.
So X-Rosa comes into the last sector now, still putting a tidy up so far on the softs. They should easily, I reckon he's going to at least top 5 with this lap. Surely. As long as it doesn't involve
Zola normally isn't the greatest of qualifiers. Normally he really comes into his own under the race itself. But you may have a good point.
P3.
You are right. Top 5 time. 133.802. And now Dad Stop Gaming in the AlphaTauri, another Honda-powered machine, comes to the line out of turn 20. And he will set down a time of 1:053. Not a great time for Dad Stop Gaming. He's going to want to go faster. And considering he was on soft tires, it leads me to think that something may have happened that caused him to back out of it.
Although, who else?
All right.
LV6
Well, PRUFC and Level 6 Beastian are both in the middle of laps. Also, Reese in 13 is going very slow down the back straightaway as PRUFC is coming up. I think that Reese is going to try and give PRUFC a bit of a tow, but they've timed it so badly that it's not going to help. In fact, Reese is actually going to be a hindrance to PRUFC as he goes by. So a little bit of shenanigans went very, very poorly there. So the focus now goes to Level 6 Beastin in the McLaren. His teammate SFR Shu on the medium tires, at the fastest of everyone on medium tires thus far.
Very wide there.
34.237. Beastian, we can anticipate, will go a little bit faster as he crosses the line. It'll be a 34.275. So despite being on soft tires, yeah, very strange. Normally you'd go faster on the soft tires, but that's not the case right now. So now we see PRUFC in the Mercedes coming to the line. He is on medium tires, and when he crosses the line, he'll likely push Dad Stop Gaming out. Yes, he does. So as of now, PRUFC with a 135.096 is 9th on the timesheets. Herbinator 13 with a 35.197 is on the bubble. Dad Stop Gaming is on the outside looking in with a bit less than 7 minutes left in the session, and Reese has invalidated his lap in turn 20.
Reese,
and this means that he's going to have... And Reese will have to go an entire lap around the circuit just to try and get another lap in. This is aggravating.
Oh, Reese, you muppet. He doesn't do this in SLR. He always gets his qualifying laps. I've never seen this before. I will never let him near the end of it if he does not get a qualifying lap in here.
Well, there's still a little less than 6.5 minutes left in the session. I think that chances are very good that Reese will get a qualifying lap in. The question is, will he get a qualifying lap in? That will be good enough to get him into the top 10 pole shootout. Dad Stop Gaming has also already gotten back onto the circuit. Interestingly enough, he is using the same set of tires that he's already set his time on. Now, he has set initially a 137, then he went another lap, good up to a 136. He needs to beat Herbinator's time, and Herbinator in pit lane has just swapped over from the medium tire compounds to the soft tire compounds. 136.245 for Dad Stop Gaming. And at the end of Sector 2, is he any faster right now? It says that he's up by 81 thousandths right now. That would be just enough to get him over Herbinator's time if he can maintain it.
Nah, because Dad Stop Gaming to the 36, Herbinator's to the 35. He needs a second.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Never mind. I was looking only at the fractions, not looking at the full set.
Reese needs to definitely get a new set of tires because he will not be able to start on those ruined stuffs.
And Dad Stop Gaming has aborted his lap, so he does not have the confidence on that set of worn softs. Reese in pit lane right now. in the middle of laps right now. PRUFC is in the middle of the lap, but I think it's a cooldown lap considering he's very low on ERS. His fuel light's flashing. I think he'll be coming in. XR Lopez, Arctic Prodigy, Herbinator, and Zola are all on out laps right now, looking to go faster. But as it stands at the moment, I think if you're in the top 3, I think you're in the 133 range of times, you are safe and you are locked in to the next round of qualifying. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and extend that bet. I think if you're saying a time about Arctic Prodigy, what he currently has on the board, 134.481 or faster, then you are in a decent place going forward. I think once you get to PRUFC on down the line, I think those are the drivers that are at the biggest risk of being knocked out. Reese especially, considering he has not yet set a lap time, he could be the real big wild card in this entire scenario.
Reese will be the one who decides if Herbinator stays up for this or goes down. Depending on how Herbinator's lap goes, actually, because he has gotten a softs. I think PRUFC might be in a bit of trouble, or Kenzie.
I think Kinsey is at high risk of also getting squeezed out. Kinsey has had a history of not doing the greatest in qualifying, but just trying to survive to the end of the races are very important. And that's something else to consider. Just simply because of the way that this game works and the physics of this game, we're in our second season. Now, granted, the second season is truncated shorter than the first season, but we're in the second season of this game for Dev, and tomorrow, the second season on this game starts for X1, X2, X3. Most of the drivers are very familiar with the way this game works. That doesn't change the fact that there are still a lot of physics hiccups and weird glitches and issues that this game has. There's still wheel connection glitches that come up every now and again, sound issues that happen for the drivers. The curbs are excessively aggressive. You'd think that the cars are running under the 2022 regulations with how badly the curbs can screw you up in this game. It's very rare to see drivers last to the end. We've seen plenty of times where drivers are way slower, controller users are normally slower than wheel users, and yet controller users will still pull out top 5s or podium finishes just because drivers who are on wheels end up getting compromised by glitches or physics issues. Alright, Reese now crossing the line. He will get his lap in, hopefully.
Come on, Reese.
That is assuming he doesn't invalidate.
Reese is on controller as well, so... Oh, come on. I want Reese to do well.
Herbinator also coming out of the end of Sector 2. He's set his prior lap on mediums. This one's on softs. The gap and change is already noticeable. He's up by over 4/5 of a second between the first 2 sectors alone. So Herbinator, at this rate, might squeeze Kinsey Retro down a bit.
Well, Reese is looking very solid in the first sector there.
25.454 at the end of Sector 1 for Reese. Kinsey Retro is also just begun his lap as well. And there is a Red Bull that is running a little bit slow there in Sector 2. Zola, I guess he's on a cooldown lap. Yeah, Zola's on a cooldown lap right now, but he did go faster on his lap. Got up to a 33.210. Herbinator.
As Lopez goes for 33.5. P3 just behind his team there.
Herbinator has improved up to a 135.197. And that is the time that Reese needs to chase. 102.709 for Reese at the end of Sector 2 now.
Now, Reese has, like I said, a very good lap so far, so I think he's got this safely.
McLaren SFR Shoe 381 goes to the top with a 32.584. Incredible.
As Reese runs the final couple of corners now, he's low fuel.
He cannot afford to invalidate here in the final corner. And he doesn't. At the line for Reese, 133.212. That's good enough for 4th. Herbinator is now on the outside looking in, and it's Kinsey Retro who is on the bubble. Kinsey has already responded, but he's not responding well enough. He is down by 7/10 this lap compared to his prior lap. Herbinator is going faster again. He is up by over half a second at the end of Sector 2. He needs to keep it together through Sector 3 if he wants a chance to squeeze Kinsey out. Fuel lights flashing on the Williams machine. He's very low on ERS as well. To the line for the Williams. He's in! He jumps up to 8th with a 34.017, so it's PRUFC now in the bubble. Kinsey Retro is on the outside looking in. He needs to improve this lap. He is already up by over a quarter of a second in Sector 1. Kinsey may just still squeeze his way in.
As he comes around
Into the hairpin now.
Oh no, it's not the canonical guns. I thought it was a different corner. Anyway. This is his one and only chance. He cannot mess up whatsoever. He needs just under 2/10. Just over 2/10. I can't do maths. Just under 2/10 to get PRUFC out of the top 10. He is 6/10.
He's
down
up by
in
over
Sector
half
2.
a second right now. Yeah, if he holds this together, he will squeeze PRUFC out. But Sector 3 is very, very tricky. He needs to hope that the tires will hold on and that he can go beans here in turn 16, 17, 18. Now he flings it into turn 19.
Clean
Can't
through
run
there.
too wide there. This is an IndyCar. There are much stricter track limits for this series. Now the final corner. Across the line. Does Kinsey make it in? Yes, he does! Last second, he squeezes PRUFC out.
That was very close.
And while Herbinator goes ahead and finishes this final lap, we can look, and the drivers that will advance will be SFR Shoe in the McLaren, Herbago in the Williams, Zola, Reese in 13, XRL Lopez, Arctic Prodigy, JR Football 26, Herbinator 13, Level 6 BCN, and Kinsey Retro. And the big thing to consider is that at the end of it all of our top 10, they will be starting on the soft tire compound, worn soft tires at that.
I would have gone for mediums here. Although I feel like some pit drivers wouldn't have had the pace to get through on the mediums, but the mediums are a very good thing to start on around America because the softs die out so quick, and that proves that. And then having the mediums tires is just a good. What's the word? Oh, why is my brain not working today?
Yeah, right now, I think well, a lot of the drivers who tried to set their time on mediums found themselves squeezed out. And yeah, the medium tires may be a great option for long term, but it seems like over a single lap, the gap between the softs and the mediums are massive. Just look between Kinsey Retro and PRUFC alone, the split in times between them was 4/10. And PRUFC initially at a time that was very solidly in the top 10 when he was on the mediums, but as more and more people swapped to the softs, it just got pushed farther and farther down. Over a single lap pace, at least to me, it seems like the soft tires are just so much better, and everyone here was like, well, I'd rather have the track position than the strategy advantage.
Yeah, I would have probably gone for strategy advantage, because then as soon as they'll be pitting, you can maybe hope from banking on a safety car. Even though that will happen, but then there's so many better strategies because you can go from medium to hard around here, which in my opinion is better than soft, medium, medium, which is what I would guess a lot of these drivers are going to be doing today. I'm surprised if they wouldn't.
There's also a chance of maybe running soft, medium, softs if the safety cars fall the right way.
Yeah. How many laps is around here? 32? So I think the softs last around 8 laps here, if I'm not mistaken, if not 7. So, it must be longer than that, surely. Do you actually know how many laps it is on this? I swear it's 32, isn't it?
I tell you what, talk to me in about 17 minutes after Q3 in the 5-minute wait, and when the ticker shows up on the screen, I will tell you how many laps there are. How's that sound?
Perfect. As who's out on the first? Is that HRU back?
Yep, that's Arctic Prodigy in the Williams, who is the first driver to get out onto the circuit here.
Followed by JR Football, and then followed by HRU Bagger, and no one else is coming out just yet. Oh well, as I say that, SFR Shoe goes other things.
Yeah, there's a lot of spread that's kind of formed between the first 3 drivers and then SFR Shoe, who is leading another trio, and now we're seeing the Mercedes of Reese in 13 coming down pit lane, so he'll be coming out into the circuit very shortly as well. So already we're looking at about 7 of our 10 drivers going to be on track almost all at the same time here. And now we see the other McLaren, that's level 6 BC, and he is now coming down pit lane.
So far, it is only XR Zola and Herbinator that are yet to come out. I wonder if they're just waiting for everyone to a bank lap and then... So I don't even...
Yeah, that is a strategy to just go ahead and go out when everyone else is in their flyer lap. Just move out of their way, and then when you get to the line to do your flyer lap, most of the other people on track will be off circuit or on their own cooldown lap. It is a strategy. The counterpoint to that strategy, though, is we now see Zola coming down pit lane, or beginning to come down pit lane. The counterpoint to that strategy, though, is that you run the risk of, only being able to set 2 laps in the session. You only have 12 minutes in this session overall. It takes you about 1 minute and 40 seconds, I'd say, on average, between outlap, flyer, and in-lap. So that altogether is about 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Sorry, not 3 minutes and 30 seconds. That altogether, that is 4 minutes and 30 seconds. No, I'm not counting that right. 130, 130, 130 is 430, add another. That's about 5 minutes overall for a single lap. You only really get 2 shots at it. Now, you are benefited a bit that if you're fast enough on your third and final attempt, you only have to worry, and SFR Shu invalidates in his initial lap, and JR Footballer is very slow on the back straightaway. You run the risk, though, that if you're going to be going out that late, you're basically locking yourself in a position where you're not going to get a shot at a third lap. You're only going to get 2 shots at setting laps in the session. So there is that counter risk. Of course, you can counter that, though, by putting a little bit more fuel in the tank and trying to go a little bit harder and go for your first flyer lap where the tires are better, and then the second flyer lap where the tires are 95% or so what they were the lap before, and your fuel's lighter. It's a really weird game, a really interesting game of strategy, and Reese has had a spin in an accident, and he has ripped off the entire front wing of that Mercedes there, coming out of the S's. No bueno for him.
Orishi Blank. Owen H.E. Banger goes fast in the session with a 133.1, which is actually slower than his Q2 time. So I reckon we'll be seeing him go out again.
Well, SFR Shu has invalidated his lap, so it's going to be a while until we see what he can do. So it looks like it's going to be Kinsey Retro who will put up the next time, trying to knock Herbago off the top of the sheets here. And across the line for Kinsey. Kinsey just does not seem to have that car very well hooked up.
Next, Lopez now coming across the line, which is going to be a 133.7. Top 3
and
are
now,
quite close, within 6/10 of each other. 7/10.
And now Zola is just behind him on circuit in the middle of a flying lap himself. So what we could see here, if Lopez stays ahead of Zola, Lopez could actually give his teammate a bit of a tow down the DRS back straightaway there in Sector 2.
Which could prove massive, because that straight is a very long straight. And a tow, is it... Oh, I need to use my brain now. It's like... I feel like it's like 8 or 10 kilometers extra. Kilometers an hour down top speed.
Well,
tow.
It depends on how well you hook up that tow and what your aerodynamic setup is going to be as well.
Either way, the tow's overpowered.
Yeah, it looks like that's going to be what's going on here. Lopez just gives Zola a tow. Zola really sucked right up behind him. Lopez moves aside early on, though. I think Lopez didn't time it as well as they wanted. He was only able to give Zola a tow for about the first third of the straight. But Zola will take it irregardless.
As we've missed level
102.797.
37.1, which I think you may have slowed down for that.
SFR Shu finally crosses the line and goes to the top with a 32.874. And now the focus goes back to Kinsey Retro, and he is coming in, so he's not going to go for another lap on that set of rubber. So now the focus goes to Zola. He'll be the 7th driver to set a time in this session.
And that time will be a 1:33.755.
So Lopez and Zola very close when it comes to pace right now. Both in the 1:33.7 range. Only about 400 separating them. And here comes level 6 Beastian to the line.
Oh, we've been informed by XRL Zola it is 28 laps. And it is an all-dry race, so no rain in America. Surprise, surprise. Didn't expect that.
I didn't realize I thought we were racing in Texas, not California, but okay then. Level 6 Beastian, 34.331, so he goes up to 6 now. Herbinator is still in pit lane. JR Footballer is in the middle of an outlap, as is Reese, Reese cannot afford to wreck his car like he did last attempt. JR Footballer, I don't know what happened with him on his first attempt. He was extremely slow going down the back straightaway, wasted a bunch of time, but he finally gained a proper flyer in.
Is anybody on the lap right now? I think LV6 Beastion is on. No, he's not. Come on.
JR Footballer is in the middle of a flyer right now.
Has he given up on the lap? He has.
I think he may have, yeah. There must be something wrong with that AlphaTauri, because this is another time that he was in the middle of a lap and seems to back off in the sectors 1 and 2 almost immediately. So I'm really confused as to what's going on there. Reese has invalidated his outlap, but he'll cross the line and we'll get a proper run at it
I'm
now.
going to stick on with Reese for this lap. As no one else. I'm rooting for Reese because I've known him for a fair bit. Oh, the kid, he's cool. He's cool. So they're still pretty fast. So although he's on controller, so America might be a bit of an issue for him.
Also, Herbinator is in the middle of an outlap right now as he's just about to come to the end of Sector 2. So Herbinator will also be staying a lap sooner rather than later. There's a very slow McLaren coming into the pit lane. That will be level 6 Beastian, who is finally making his way back into pit road. Yeah. If you were to come out onto the circuit right now, you would have the ability to set either 2 flyer laps or get a lap in and be coming back into pit lane by the time the clock is up. So we're now seeing a Red Bull coming out of pit road, and JR Footballer has crossed the line. He did set a lap, not a proper flyer lap, but he did set a lap of 42.259. Hopefully now he'll be able to go for a proper flyer.
Those S's were rapid, better than my time.
Yeah, he's up by 4.5 seconds in Sector 1 alone. But again, his first lap, he was definitely pulled way back, so...
I think JR Football has been sandbagging a bit here.
It's a bold strategy to be sandbagging on tires in a race series that is, you know, equal performance cars. If it was realistic series, I could understand maybe doing a bit of sandbagging, but...
This is looking like a pole time for JR Footballer.
I don't know about pole time, but definitely is looking very competent. And he's going to be the next driver across the line. Herbinator also has not yet set a time. He'll be the last driver to set a time in the session. It does look like, though, I think JR Footballer might get a top 4
Although what
time.
we have missed is Reese. Goes P2. 1/10 off pole.
Yeah, 132.985. All right, here comes JR Footballer across the line. It will be a 133.625. So that's the 5th fastest of everyone thus far. Here comes Herbinator coming down to the last corner now in the Williams. What will he set? 4th with a 133.299. And everyone from Zola, Lopez, Beastian, and Kinsey are all in the middle of outlap. Well, Zola, yes, I think Zola may have invalid. No, Zola has gotten to the line in time. He will get enough for one shot at this. Lopez, Beastian are racing to the line. I don't know if Beastian is going to be able to get to the line in time to get one more lap in. Kinsey's in the middle of another flyer as well. There's going to be a mad rush here. SFR Shu is extremely slow right now in Sector 3. I don't know if Shu is going to make it to the line in time to get a lap in. I think he's holding back a bit to try and helpfully give his teammate Beastian a tow, but Shu is running the risk of not making it to the line in time. No, he'll make it to the line in time. It'll be close, but he will make it to the line in time, and so will Beastian by the looks of it as well. Reese is the only car in pit lane right now. Everyone else on track, trying to get a lap in to go just that little bit faster. First of this group to cross the line will be JR Footballer, but Footballer's invalidated this lap. However, he'll make it to the line with just enough time. If he wants to, he can go for one more shot at this. That's not going to be the case here for... Who is that's coming across the line right now? That is Arctic Prodigy. Prodigy was not able to improve, so he is stuck with a 33.385. Time's up. Over. Plow! Here comes Zola to the line. Will he improve? Yes, he does. Up to fourth with a 33.259. And Herbinator is crashed coming out of the final corner. Herbinator with an accident. No, wait, that's not in the final corner. I think, no, Herbinator crashed trying to come into pit lane. Pit lane you cannot get into because Herbinator has trashed his car there. Kinsey, 134.298 will be the fastest. He says his second lap was 1,000th of a second slower. There's another driver who's around there in Sector 3. That's Herbago. And the Alpine, he has had a spin in Sector 3. He will not be able to go faster. Lopez to the line. Does he improve? Yes, he does. 33.361. And now here come the McLarens. First it will be SFR Shoe out of the final corner, slides the rear into that McLaren. He will go faster, 32.452. Pole position is all but his. Beastian is out of fuel, aiming out of the second to last corner. He will not be able to go faster. JR Footballer, the last driver who will have a chance to settle up, and he's invalidated, so that's it. The lineup you see right now is the one you will have to the end. And Herbinator crashing out at the very end of Q3. Alright, and there you are, your final results. This will be the top 10 stars for the race. SFR Shoe in the McLaren will be starting on the pole position. Reese in the Mercedes will be starting outside pole, but over half a second off of Shoe's time. So I think Shoe has a good chance of maybe opening up a small gap at the start. Herbago will be starting third in the Alpine. Zola will be starting fourth in the Red Bull. Herbinator will be starting fifth in the Williams. Lopez will be starting sixth in the Red Bull. 7th will be Arctic Prodigy in the Williams, 8th will be JR Football in the AlphaTauri, 9th will be Kinsey Retro in the Aston Martin, and 10th will be Level 6 Beastian in the McLaren. And that will be your starting grid for the top 10 starters for today's race. Alright, and they'll be go. So apparently what we're seeing is that they are at least anticipating to go right at the top of the hour, assuming that no one does a silly and readies up on the race grid. You're not supposed to ready up immediately. It's supposed to have about 5 minutes, so everyone gets a chance to go ahead and get their strategies locked in and their final bit of car setup adjustment locked in as well. Just stand by right now, wait until we can get underway for the race itself. Should be going green shortly. As we really quickly look at the race director so we can look at the entire grid. So 15th will be TAF Mr. Shark. He is electing to start on softs. XR Jigsaw starting 14th. He is also going to be starting on softs. Basic 2 in the Ferrari is starting 13th. He seems to be the only driver right now commanding to start on mediums because 12th and 11th ahead of him, Pure UFC and Dad Stop Gaming, they're both looking to start on softs. And then obviously everyone in our top 10 will be starting on worn soft tires. So Basic 2 may have a small advantage when it comes to strategy. Now there could be, potentially, last minute changes with some of these driver strategies though, but I wouldn't put a whole lot of money on that happening until we see it on track.
Okay, now I'm back. Sorry, called me.
Alright, we should be getting underway in about a minute's time here. And again, we look one more time at the current race director. The only driver looking to start this race on medium rubber is Basic 2. Although, as I say that, TF Mr. Shark in the Alpine has also just made a last-minute change. So, 13th and 15th place position cars, they look like they will be starting on medium rubber. Alright, so normally at race start, I focus on the front of the field.
Yeah.
Real quick, I'll just ask, go ahead, focus on like the middle to back of the field. If you see anything, go ahead, cut me off, interrupt me, so that way I can change focus to that.
Yeah, that's fine. Also, sorry about that. I was like, call my mum.
That's fine.
Nine seconds till the start.
Alright. And now we see everyone beginning to load onto the circuit. 15 cars, but only one of them can win today. As the lights are going, 4 lights, 5 lights. As lights out, away we go here at Circuit of the Americas. SFR Shu and Reese have a good drag race, but it looks like the McLaren will out-drag him. Here comes Zola to the inside of the McLaren. He runs right in the back of the McLaren. That's going to be damage to Zola before they even get to turn 1. Shu holds the lead for just a moment, but now it's Herbago's turn to try and come up and make something happen for second position. As Zola runs off circuit, he is plummeting down to the grid. There's more contact as his Red Bull teammate Lopez has gone off circuit after making contact with the Williams. Now both Red Bulls are falling rapidly to the grid. Herbagos gets by Reese, and Reese is out! Reese is crashed out! And level 6 BCA has to swerve to avoid the stranded Mercedes, and our first DNF of the day happens before you can even read off the Constitution of the United States. And Basic, who started not even in the top 10, has worked his way up into 5th position after all of that.
This is really going to seem very annoyed about that. So we'll see. As Basic goes from double moves on Arctic Prodigy and Herbinator to...
Oh, there's 3 wide! There's 3 wide for position!
What a move back to a Jigsaw who's come from nowhere.
And Jigsaw absolutely flying. He said that he would be moving up the grid fast, but I don't think anyone was anticipating he was going to go from 15th to 3rd that quickly.
11 positions up, and Basic is up 9.
And again, we're not even done with the first full lap here.
Wow.
Well, we're going to try and reach out to Reese and see if he'd be willing to talk with us as to what happened at the start of the race there.
He's just told me what happened. He said Alpine is spinning and he got smacked by Williams. Do you want to invite him? Because he's my friends just to invite him. Sort of
yeah, go ahead and invite him.
Yeah.
TAF Mr. Shark gets by Herbinator because Herbinator, Zola, and Beastian all have to pit. So the top 11 drivers all still on track, able to survive the damage they've taken. But Zola, who had a very good starting position, end up bottling it early on, and Basic in 4th gets the first time penalty of the day. 3 seconds time penalty on lap 2. But at the front, SFR Shoe has opened up a 1.2 second gap on the Alpine of Herbago. Jigsaw is about 2 seconds out from Herbago right now. Basic is about 1.5 seconds out from him. Then it's Arctic Prodigy, who's a bit less than a second behind the Ferrari. Then JR Footballer and the AlphaTauri, who is in 6th. Coming to the party right now is Reese. Reese, go ahead, include your audio. Actually, on the first lap in the S's, what happened from your own perspective?
Reese?
I got a really bad start, and then Alpine went up the inside of me, hit me. I got spun around. I was on the racing line and got my left tyre hit by Williams.
Imagine, what was it? I'm kidding. Anyway, very lucky for you, Reese. Very lucky. I was hoping you'd get podium today, but
I got good.
unfortunately,
I
now
got
that's not happened.
original good start, but I didn't do the S's probably.
You have control.
The car behind me.
Yeah.
Car behind me got a better run and
Oh!
his tyre
Ooh,
acted
wow!
What's happened there?
The Ferrari of Basic gets very nearly spun out turn 2, and in the process has backed up everyone from about 4th to 8th all into one big bundle.
Oh, Reese. Anyway, Reese, quick question. This is nothing about this league, but where's Amy Racing? That's great, Reese. That's great. Good question.
I don't know.
Oh, it's at France, isn't it? Oh well, that's great. Oh well. I'm not racing, Reese. It's very wrong, Warren. Right, anyway, as we go back to Basic, who has definitely, yes, he has definitely backed on a lot of drivers. As HIU Bago is under pressure by Jigsaw. As Jigsaw goes round the outside on the back straight with DRS, an easy move for him. Although he is very low on the DRS.
Here comes the fight for 4th position. JR Footballer has DRS. He'll easily overtake the Ferrari, but there's a Williams, a Red Bull, and a Mercedes all right there. The Williams dives to the inside of the Ferrari. A little bit of contact. Arctic Apology has to back out of it. It's going to leave him open to attack from Lopez. Lopez throws his Red Bull up to the inside and will muscle his way past him on the run down to turn 15 now.
What a move there. As Basic goes back through again with JR Footballer, there is contact there. Nothing too major, doesn't look like any damage. But this is now with Extra Jigsaw has left HIU Bago. As HIU Bago does get DRS, and Jigsaw goes very wide there, but so does HIU Bago. HIU Bago has very highly underfueled. So he is praying for a safety car right now.
Lopez on the inside, JR Footballer. Both these drivers have DRS.
I lost his front wing.
Oh, and Lopez is gone! Lopez spears into the side of Basic and immediately spins out in the process, and Herbago has crashed out as well. Virtual safety car finally comes for Herbago, but he didn't want to be the virtual safety car.
That was very lucky. He just put the power down too much without the hairpin there. Oh, that's a shame. I think this is
And
my
this
commentator's
filters-
curse, because I was saying
And
that
this filters Basic, who's been struggling. He got a lot of positions early on by avoiding incidents, but after moving up into 3rd, he's been struggling. Well, now all of a sudden he's back into 3rd again. As 2 of the drivers ahead of him, well, one of them ahead and one of them side by side with him, end up with an instant. Now for Lopez, it may not be too bad yet because Lopez speared into the side of Basic, but not too hard. That car's front wing still looks like it's all together. And now Herbinator has a drive-through penalty for speeding into the safety car. And he's not the only one, so does SFR Shoe. Your race leader has to serve a drive-through penalty.
This will put XO Jigsaw into a very good position here, as he is looking like the fastest man on track right now. The comeback is on him, 12 positions gained. And will take over track position by SFR Shoe when he does make the pit stop.
Basics opened up a small gap on JR Footballer, as Footballer spent most of his time trying to keep Arctic Prodigy and PRUFC behind him. Now Lopez has a time penalty that he has gotten for track violation issues. Here comes Prodigy making the move, and he will easily overtake JR Footballer. Footballer tries to lap and crossover on the exit of turn 1, but is just not able to put the power down fast enough to get alongside the Williams on corner exit. So that Williams now has position, and now Prodigy immediately cuts the circuit in the S's, and now he has a time penalty. And that's another thing in Jigsaw's favor. Jigsaw's the only driver in the top 5 right now that does not have any time penalties or penalties at all against him.
This has been
All right,
very
PRUFC's. Yeah, PRUFC now has a run on JR Footballer, but pulls out of it before they get to the back straightaway because he wants to utilize DRS to get by him. Farther up, though, JR Footballer is trying to close back in on Arctic Prodigy, and Prodigy wants to try and run down the Ferrari, but he does not have DRS this time. In fact, you look at the AlphaTauri and the Mercedes are both faster than the Williams because they've got DRS. Contact, just a little bit of contact between the AlphaTauri and the Mercedes, and Herbago has had an incident coming out of pit lane. He spins on cold, hard tires out of pit lane and is immediately damaging the car right afterwards. I hate to say it, but this looks like Herbago might go a lap down because of that.
I think he may have damage. It looks like he. Oh. I mean, look. It looks like he kind of has. He does have damage. He's damaged the right end plate of his front wing. He'll have to pit again, which is really not good for Herbago.
Alright, Basic is ahead.
Pitted for his drive-through. Comes out P5.
And Shu, he's going to come out just barely P5. He's right in the middle of this fight, so he's been dealing. Oh, he's turned! And he's turned!
And he's kept it!
And he saved it! He kept it off the wall! Incredible!
Very good cut, Josh John Vestafar Shu there. Wow. Wow. I thought it was fully gone then. Fair play. Fair play. I think Jigsaw is now running away from the rest of the drivers. Absolutely dominating this race.
And Bicyc on the medium tires, so it looks like the mediums are finally coming back in his favor. So now he is starting to open up a gap on Arctic Prodigy and that massive fight for third between the Williams and the AlphaTauri. AlphaTauri gets the DRS, pulls to the inside, overtakes the Williams. The Williams tries to get a crossover done on exit. He goes to the outside. It's longer out there, but you also have more room out there. And Herbago DNF'd in pit lane by the looks of it. So Herbago realizes that there must be something wrong with the car. He's just not going to stick it out to the end of this race.
Yeah. Oh, that's really depressing. The two drivers I actually know on this grid have both DNF'd. Unlucky.
Alright, right now Arctic Prodigy has the advantage over JR Footballer, but Footballer in the AlphaTauri will have DRS going down the straight. Both these two have opened up a gap on PRUFC a bit, so these two kind of are fighting in their own little league right now.
Jigsaw was very, very slow around the rest of there. He looks to be struggling on these soft tyres. I need to go change this to gap because there is no much going on.
And Footballer did! Prodigy had an incident and had a bit of a hiccup in the S's, and JR Footballer just went right around him in the S's. So no, I think you're 100% right. I think a lot of the drivers, especially those that compromised on aerodynamic to make sure they had good straight line speed, I think a lot of them are now dealing with tire fall off. JR Footballer is back at it at Prodigy. Now again, Prodigy has DRS, but that Williams seems to be struggling a lot more than the AlphaTauri at the moment, going through the corners as those tires are well past their peak of life.
Right, where else is there about going? And Extra Lopez and Kenzie are going at it and at it and at it on the third sector now. Can't be into the third sector, sorry, should I say. Although Lopez gets a much better exit there, he will be looking to go round down the inside round here. Although he has to back off because of Kenzie's braking. Yeah,
Lopez, one of the drivers that were kind of caught up in that lap 1 melee and lost a lot of positions.
Oh, he hits
Arctic Prodigy is pitted.
And Extra Lopez takes Kenzie out, but does the respectful thing and waits for Kenzie to spin around and come back on the race with him. Fair play to Extra Lopez for waiting.
Respect.
But that's let TAF Mr. Shark now close in on them. Also, Arctic Prodigy has made the first stop of the day. He has swapped over from from soft tires onto mediums. So I imagine, like you said, he's probably going to go soft, medium, medium to the end of this race. So now TAF Mr. Shark has caught Lopez, and Lopez is still hanging out there behind Kinsey Retro. So we could see a little three-way fight. Now, TAF Mr. Shark is on medium tires that, while they're past their peak, they still have a lot more life in them than the softs that Kinsey and Lopez have. I think Mr. Shark might have a small advantage on these two drivers. Flying down the back straightaway, Lopez with the DRS, closing on with speed
I
on the
think he
Aston
might be a
Martin.
bit too far back, although he's going round the outside.
He's going around the outside.
Wants to go for the switch back. Will he make it? No. Kenzie's sticking out the outside. Side by side again. No contact made though. Good race by Isco here. Will Kenzie be able to keep this position? As Kenzie keeps the position down the inside, although TAF, Mr. Shark, is really closing on these guys now. Well, as
Kinsey now
gets
gets a time penalty. Yeah, they tried riding side by side through 16, 17, 18, and that's not going to work. Now in 19, Kinsey is forced to brake early. 19, as long as you're following Formula 1's track limits, 19 is a single car corner. You really can't go side by side through there. Kinsey realized that. He backed out, didn't want to run into the back of Lopez, but in the process, that means that Kinsey now is going to be under threat from Mr. Shark.
Mr. Shark only 6 tenths now behind Kenzie. On the fresher mediums, these guys are on older softs, so
This
should
is
be
the
an
most
easy
active
overtake.
battle on the circuit.
yeah, Mr. Shark.
Well, you'd think that, but if it's on the straightaway, Kinsey will still have DRS off of Lopez that he can use as a defense against the Alpine. This is going to get interesting because they're coming onto the back straightaway once again. Aston Martin will have DRS, but he's not super close to the Red Bull either. He might be able to get behind that Red Bull's rear wing, but I don't think he's going to be able to get alongside him in the braking zone. Or maybe I'm wrong. No, it looks like I might be wrong. Kinsey's there. He's alongside. He's going to be the one going the outside.
this is
can't
a
make it
great
stick,
battle
though.
to be watching here.
And it seems like the Alpine might just have a setup that's more focused on cornering speed than straightaways, because even with DRS, he struggles to keep pace with Kinsey and only slightly closes on Lopez down the straight. So I think that Mr. Shark just has maybe a more downforce heavy setup, trying to preserve tires a bit longer, although that normally means it will be a slightly higher cost of fuel. And he's willing to sacrifice straight line speed to just outlast everyone when it comes to tire strategy. PRUFC has pitted out of the top 5. They have gone from medium tires and are throwing on a set of softs now on his machine, but he will be popping out behind Arctic Prodigy in about the 9th position on track.
Oh, SFRSU is rapidly gaining on JR Footballer here now. Maybe looking to test to move down straight. He is within DRS range.
Battle for 3rd position, the final step on the podium. Basic has opened up about a little more than a 3.5 second gap on 3rd position. So Ferrari right now, assuming that they don't end up with a bunch of time penalties, looks like he may be in a good spot to walk out here with the podium. The fight right now is for who's going to be on the other podium. Step and Shu easily clears JR Footballer, going around.
Well, JR
Exit
Footballer
the back
doesn't want to
straightaway.
give this up, and he goes down the inside. This could end up being a great switch back here. Is he going to go down the inside? Is he going to go around the outside? And
Bastian, out!
Bastian's out!
Accident in Sector 1, and that is a full course safety car, and that happened just after Jigsaw crossed the start-finish line. This is horrible for Jigsaw, because he can't cheat his way into the pit lane. He's going to have to go all the way around the circuit. The field will be gathered up behind him, and when Jigsaw makes his pit, he's going to be dropped way down the order.
That is very unlucky for Jigsaw there. Very unlucky.
Basic, Shu, JR Footballer all paying the top 3 positions now. Lopez paying from 5th, Kinsey paying from 6th. I think we're going to see nearly the entire field coming in the pits. All right, Coming into the booth right now, though, is level 6 Beastian. Beastian, accident in Sector 1. What happened that took you out there?
To be honest with you, I don't know, because normally I hit the apex before I crashed out in that section, but the car just ripped out after I did the second corner, and it just slowest motion crash ever. It just could not stop. Just going perfectly.
Well, nasty instant. Well, it is still early in the dev season. Do you think you can still rebound going forward?
I hope so. This isn't a track I'm good at, but the rest are ones that just hope for the best after.
All right, well, I do want to say thanks for being willing to jump in and talk with us, though. Shame to see you out like this.
Alright, catch you guys later.
Alright, well, that's the word from level 6 Beastian. And then McLaren, we might, hopefully we won't have to, but we might end up talking to level 6 Beastian again later today. He is going to be taking a wormhole, not even going to be taking a Concord flight, he's going to take a wormhole over to Britain later today for the Realistic League race, so...
So I'm being so quiet, I'm an admin league, but we're fully spammed because of stuff that's happened. Right, this is really annoying. Especially in the but yeah.
Alright, so now for Jigsaw, who was absolutely dominating this race, everything's about to fall apart. He has gone from having what would have been a very respectful advantage over the rest of the field to no advantage, and he's going to be pitting, and that will drop him well down the order. By the looks of it, he's going to come out in about 7th position, 6th or 7th position here. So for Jigsaw, who went from dead last to first in the span of about 3 laps, he's going to have to make about half of all those moves all over again coming to the green flag. Oh god, it's going to be even worse for Jigsaw than I thought. Yeah, I said he was going to come out 6th or 7th. On Raw, it's looking now like he's going to come out probably in about the 9th position by the looks of it. Alright, he's finally off and underway. Yeah, he will be 9th on track, and guess behind will be Zola. So everyone on track, with the exception of your current race leader, TAF Mr. Shark, is now on fresh rubber. TAF Mr. Shark is on the same set of medium tires he started this race on. Basic 2 in the Ferrari is now 2nd on fresh soft, so he might have a shot to gun for the lead early on here. But Jigsaw, who dominated the first third of this race, now trapped in the midfield and will have to try and survive. And we're already down from 15 cars down to 12 at this point in the event as well. So we could be looking at an event where we may not even have 10 cars ran at the end. I think right now the essence is going to be survive to the end of this race. Alright, we're still under the safety car right now, but we are anticipating going green flag this lap. Yep, safety car is already pulling away from your race leader, TAF Mr. Shark. Small adjustment to the rules going into this series, put a little bit more tighter control over what the race leader is or isn't allowed to do coming to the green flag at the end of the safety car period. So hopefully we won't see it. Well, hopefully that means that we aren't going to see as many knock-on effects where drivers at the back of the grid are not able to properly time when they come to the green, and we have midfield accidents coming to the green flag. Arctic Prodigy gets a time penalty back there for violating track limits under the safety car. That's not going to look good for him. All right, here we are coming to the green flag. Basic, Mr. Shark, side by side. Now the Ferrari poles in line behind the Alpine will pop back out to the inside. Side by side for a lead going into turn 1. On the fresh and soft tires, Basic easily sails into the top position as now SFR showing the McLaren makes his shot at TIF Mr. Shark.
Okay, that is all
already
the stuff I have to reply to done, so I can get back to commentating now. Hello again.
Alright, already nearly a 1.5-second gap between first and second, although Basic does get a time penalty while doing that.
Especially
Shoot,
back to
trying to
Mr. Shark now, bro. No ERS.
Yeah, those
for a
worn
couple
medium
laps.
tires just... Yeah, worn medium tires just are not working out as well for that Alpine driver as he wanted. And Shark is basically holding up the entire back. You had Herbinator gets by Dad Stop Gaming at the back of the field now. Shu looking to the inside of Mr. Shark. Can't make it stick. But behind, Garrett Footballer did stay ahead of PRUFC, going through that corner. And now the AlphaTauri is just keeping the field kind of bunched up behind him in the same way that Shark is keeping Shu behind. As I say that, there we are, the Alpine's ride going through 15. That's let Shu sneak by, and now Mr. Shark will fall into the clutches of JR Footballer. The worn medium tires just do not have the pace compared to even fresh mediums, it would appear.
Oh, and Kenzie goes off and nearly hits XRL Jigsaw. That was very, very, very close.
And Jigsaw's already made up 2 spots since coming to the green flag. But again, he went from about 13th, well about 14th actually, to 3rd in about a lap at the start of this race. This move through the grid upward is going a lot slower for Jigsaw this time. JR Footballer has pulled up right behind the Alpine of Mr. Shark. What can he do to him? This is not looking good for Mr. Shark. He is unbearably slow through the S's. Here comes Footballer, but Footballer has to back out so he doesn't run into the back of the Alpine. Again, DRS not a thing yet, so Shark does have that sump card kind of in his advantage for the moment. Jigsaw is pulled right behind Lopez. Lopez is behind PRUFC. UFC is behind JR Footballer. Footballer is behind Mr. Shark. There's a nice little bundle of cars from about 3rd all the way back to 8th. Everyone's on top of each other. Will Footballer make a dive going into the braking zone? The answer, no, but someone who will be doing that will be Jigsaw around the outside of Lopez. Can't make it stick in the Haas, but he's going to stick it out irregardless, and will get just barely side by side with the Red Bull, going through this really slow technical section around the outside. He's gonna try and make it stick. Oh, but in the process, he uses himself open to attack from Arctic Prodigy. Doesn't matter. Jigsaw sticks it together. He will get by Lopez.
This is very close, a lot closer than I thought. I thought everyone was spread out for the base differences, but no.
All right, and now for the 3rd position, Footballer will now have DRS on TAF Mr. Shark going down the front straightaway. Will that be enough to enable him to overtake the Alpine going into 1? The answer is a big fat no. For now, TAF Mr. Shark has position on those very worn medium tires, but as TAF Mr. Shark and JR Football are fighting, his lane Basic and SFR Shu walk away from the rest of the grid. This is the last thing that Jigsaw wants to see right now. God, that Alpine is really just not happy whatsoever going through the S's. Jigsaw now has a time penalty that's not going to help him on his charge towards the front. Footballer right behind TAF Mr. Shark, as is PRUFC. We may see multiple drivers overtake the Alpine going down the straightaway here, depending on how this works. Immediately, the Alpine goes to the inside, swerves back to the outside. He's trying desperately to break the draft, but DRS is mad overpowered going down the straight. Here comes Footballer to the inside. Can't make it stick. He's not confident enough under braking. Here he is, he shoves it up to the inside, the outside, Alpine, AlphaTauri, contact 2, 3, 4 times, they're side by side throughout the entire corner. They gotta be 3 wide, here comes PRUFC, he wants a part of this now. Mr. Shark on the outside, JR Footballer, both of them struggling in 16, 17, and 18. Footballer just barely has the line ahead. Shark throws it in, contact, and Shark goes around, and he's in contact with another car. That's the Haas of Jigsaw, and Jigsaw, who dominated this race, hits Lopez and hits TAF Mr. Shark, and Jigsaw is out of this race, contention for the win.
That is absolutely mad what I've just seen before what's just happened there. They got kind of locked into each other in the middle of the wall as well. As we say this, the Basic is extending his lead to 4.5 seconds.
But penalty-wise, it's not looking good for the Ferrari because he has 9 seconds of penalties, while SFR Shu in second has no penalties though. So for Lopez and Jigsaw though, frustration. Jigsaw, who went from the back to the front and was running away from the grid, now, unless there is a safety car that bunches everyone out and forces everyone from 10th on up to pit again, Jigsaw's out of race winning contention, and now there's honestly a question, can Jigsaw even drag that Haas back into the points paying spots? Arctic Prodigy has just gotten by Zola there for the 5th position, but now Zola will have DRS as a comeback going down the back straightaway.
Let's Jeff4 again.
PRUF's
That's 6 seconds now, which is not looking good for the podium he's challenging for against PIFC.
Kinsey Retro has just overtaken Zola, but can't make it stick going through the braking zone. That puts him under shot from Herbinator. Kinsey's going to try and run that alternate line through this section of corners here just to get back alongside Zola, but it's not working quite as well as he was anticipating. Alright, PRUFC behind JR Footballer. He has DRS and will use it to try and close on the AlphaTauri, but going into turn 1, the AlphaTauri still has the advantage.
PIFC
A little bit farther back.
Stops on, so we'll be doing 2 more stops. Oh no. At least another stop. These mediums. Oh no, everyone's going to have to do another stop. It's way too fast to keep these to the end now. I don't know how people are going to go strategies, and if there's another safety car, how that will affect everything.
Well, Mr. Shark is finally making his stop to get off those very worn medium tires, and this will drop him to the back of the grid, so that puts Lopez back into the points paying spots in 10th. Jigsaw will now be 11th. Jigsaw just trying to run down Lopez to try and get back into the points paying positions. Herbinator right there behind Kinsey Retro, but Kinsey still has DRS off of Zola ahead, so it looks like Kinsey might be able to hold off that Williams just a little bit longer using DRS as a counterplay. PRUFC, meanwhile, is closing in on JR Footballer down the straight, but not closing enough to do anything. Zola, Kinsey nearly side by side going into the corner, and that's Lopez. Lopez had a spin and has destroyed the front nose of that car, coming out of the S's, and he'll have to pit again, and now Jigsaw is back into the points paying positions. But Jigsaw is also 17 seconds out from Dad's stop, so I don't think Jigsaw really has a chance of moving up much higher than 9th or 10th position at this point either, though, sadly.
Although so far, Shu is now slowly gaining on the Ferrari of Bicycle.
Yeah, Bicycle is on those soft
softs
tires, and
starting to
those
go down.
tires. Yeah, I think you're 100% right there. The softs are starting to fall off. Meanwhile, 4th position, Arctic Prodigy has caught PRUFC. He looks to the inside, throws it up under braking, side by side going through turn 1. Move Arctic Prodigy briefly into the top spot, but PRUFC does an excellent crossover move on exit. PRUFC holds on to 4th position for just a little bit longer. Herbinator now is closed in behind Kinsey, and Kinsey has fallen off of Zola at this point in the event. Jigsaw is just at the fastest lap of the race there in 10th position, so he's making good use of those soft tires right now. Herbinator behind Kinsey Retro, looking to see what he can do to him. I think he's going to be just close enough to get DRS on Kinsey going down this back straightaway here. Farther up, Arctic Prodigy has DRS on PRUFC. Williams versus Mercedes once more as they dive into the braking zone. Does the Williams send it? No, he does not send it, but Herbinator doesn't have to worry about saying it either, does he? No, Herbinator actually backs out of making a move on Kinsey. He did not feel confident going side by side with him in the braking zone. So Kinsey holds on to 7th for a little bit longer.
Oh wait, Bicycle,
your race leader! Your race leader has crashed out of the lead, coming on to turn 19,
No,
and the race takes another insane turn. What happened?
This safety car goes really well half of the field. It will. I was gonna say we'll get Bicycle out of the mud with his tires, but he just crashed, didn't he? It will definitely bring XRL Jigsaw back very close to the top of runners. Hopefully he doesn't crash out again.
And this also means that SFR Shu gets to pit, PRUFC pits, Prodigy, Zola pits, Kinsey pits, Herbinator
missed
pits.
the pits as well, though. Unfortunately, he's not.
I don't think he's missed the pit. I think he's gonna run those medium tires to the end. Dad Stop Gaming also, he's gonna be pitting. This really just changed the entire flow of the race. Now we see Jigsaw, he's gonna pit. Now Mr. Shark has a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car back there in 11th. And Lopez, who's back there in 12th, he had just put on fresh rubber Lopez is going to be able to suck right back up to the back of the grid and won't have to worry about changing tires either. This has gone weird.
I didn't expect the safety car this late.
I didn't expect the leader to crash out like that. Yeah, we saw that the tires for the Ferrari was starting to fall off, and he was going to come into the grasp of SFR Shu very shortly there. But considering where he crashed, it looked like maybe he just put down a little bit too much turn on the front tires coming out of turn 18, and the car kind of gripped up a bit later than anticipated and sheared him right into the outside wall. So now, I think it goes back to SFR Shu has the best chance of winning this race because he and Herbinator in 7th are the only drivers without time penalties at this point in the event.
And as with this
And-
far into the race, those penalty drivers, that is absolutely vital for them. We could bring them so far up the order.
The full field still has not fully gathered up. Dad Stop Gaming is still about 12 seconds out the back from the grid. I don't think we're going to be going green until about lap 21 or so. So, the first driver who dominated a large part of this race was XRL Jigsaw. He got screwed over by a yellow flag while trying to make his way up through the grid, got involved in an accident. Then it went to Basic. And Basic, as the tires started falling off, he just pushed him too hard. Now he's out. It seems like dominating this race is, without a doubt, been a death sentence today. So you better hope that for SFR Shu or JR Football or whoever takes the lead, they don't, dominate. Otherwise, fate is going to take them out of it. Alright, so the top 9 have all finally gathered up. Mr. Shark is still about 22 seconds out the back of the grid, and Lopez is about that same distance out as well. So I imagine Shark and Lopez will catch the back of the grid once they get onto the back straightaway, so it should be going green lap 21. Only the top 10 positions give points. Right now, we have 11 drivers on track, so there's going to be an interesting fight of who is going to not get points at the end of the day today.
I assume the safety car should be clearing this lap. Before this happens, I'll go as quickly and go get some water because my throat is royally fucked. So if you give me about 3 minutes.
So about 8, we'll be going green with 8 laps to go. So there is a possibility that another safety car could bunch the field up. Down to just 11 of our 15 starters for today's race. JR Footballer leading SFR Shu in 2nd with no time penalties and fresh soft tires. We'll likely see him sail to the inside and overtake Footballer in turn 1. There we are, safety car starting to pull away from the rest of the grid. Footballer really keeping the entire field bunched up at the moment. AlphaTauri, McLaren, Mercedes, Red Bull, Aston Martin are your top 5 cars on track at the moment. Out of the second to last corner now, as we see the pace car come into pit lane. Out of the final corner, JR Footballer decides when the field goes, and he's deciding now. He's off, but Shu timed it perfectly. He's side by side. They're side by side for 3rd and 1st position right now. It looks like Footballer will just barely hold on to the lead by maintaining the inside line. PRUFC is going to lose position to Zola. Zola now moves up into 3rd. Shu behind JR Footballer needs to find a way by him sooner rather than later. Herbinator gets a time penalty back there, so now everyone except SFR Shu at this point in this race has a time penalty against him. Jigsaw gets by Arctic Prodigy, move that Haas up into 7th spot now. Zola really falls off the back of Shu there, just not able to maintain the same level of speed with all the aerodynamic weight behind. Shu behind. Now here comes PRUFC. He looks briefly to the inside of Zola. Can't make it stick. Now they come back onto the back straightaway. Lopez, meanwhile, going to try and do something. Dad stop gaming, but can't make it happen. Shu, Jared Footballer, drag racing down the straightaway, and it looks like it's going to be Shu who goes to the top. The soft tires let him put down power a little bit earlier. Also means that he'll be able to be more aggressive under braking. McLaren now goes back to the lead of this race. Zola is now the one behind AlphaTauri as two Honda-powered cars fight for the second position. Zola dives to the inside of JR Footballer. Footballer tries to close it up. The tires just don't have quite the grip that he needs them to, though, but it will be just enough to keep Zola behind. Already, the gap between first and second has opened up to 1 3/4. Now we see Jigsaw there. He's getting by Kinsey Retro, so move Jigsaw up into the 5th position. So Jigsaw trying desperately to get back for move up the grid. Jigsaw up into 5th already. PRUFC is trying to make something happen. Here comes Zola to the inside. Jared Footballer side by side for position. Easy overtake for Zola. Footballer is going to do a crossover, but just not able to get enough power down fast enough to pull alongside the Red Bull by the time we get into turn 2. So now Footballer is going to fall into the clutches of PRUFC and Jigsaw at this rate. PRUFC is on fresh medium tires rather than fresh soft tires, so PRUFC will be in a slightly better tire position the last 2 laps of this race, but at the moment UFC has to worry more about Jigsaw than anything else. Everyone's kind of on top of each other. From second on back, Footballer really didn't fall off of Zola as much as we were thinking. He's going to try and utilize the draft to stay up there with Zola as a bit of a defense against drivers behind. Jigsaw has a run. He looks to the inside of PRUFC. Side by side, Haas versus Mercedes. The Haas tucks back in line. Under braking, he will not make a move. Gap between first and second is already extended out to 3 seconds, so it looks like it will be an easy win. Oh, and Jigsaw gets to the back of the Mercedes and spins in the middle of the field and falls right back down to 8th. No, he falls back to 9th as now he gets clipped by Lopez, and Jigsaw gets clipped after spinning, saving it, gets clipped and falls right back down the grid, and Jigsaw goes to 10th position. Nothing seems to be going right for him today. And this means that any move, any chance that he had of going up the grid is basically gone. He might catch Dad stop game before the end of this, but higher than 9 seems very unlikely at this point in the event. At the front, SFR Shu over 3-second lead over Zola, and with no time penalties right now at this point in the event, everyone is just trying to outrun their time penalties. Zola and JR Footballer in second and third both have 6 seconds. PRUFC in fourth has only 3 seconds of time penalties. If he gets up there close enough to Zola, he could actually leapfrog him for a second. Kinsey Retro back there in 5th has 6 seconds of time penalties. Herbinator in 6th has 3 seconds. Arctic Prodigy in 7th has 12 seconds worth of time penalties. He desperately needs to get away from the likes of Lopez, who is back there in 8th with only 6 seconds. Dad Stop Gaming is in 9th with 6 seconds. Jigsaw is 10th with 6 seconds as well. TF Mr. Shark is in 11th with 3 seconds of time penalties, but TF Mr. Shark is also 8 seconds off of Jigsaw right now, so he's not in a position to really change anything at the moment. DRS is enabled. Mercedes, Aston Martin. It looks like Kinsey will make an overtake on PRUFC. Going into the corner, Herbinator, Arctic Prodigy trying to fight between the Williams. Right now, Herbinator has that position over his teammate Kinsey. Back in the 4th, though, for the moment. You missed an absolute truckload of stuff. Jigsaw was flying up the grid again, and then spun out again, and went back to 9th again. And Shu has walked off with this race win. He has over 4.5 seconds on the rest of the field and no time penalties. Right now, the fights seem to be basically for all the positions from about 3rd on back. Kinsey closing in on JR Footballer down the straight, but is not able to get alongside him yet. But again, Footballer is on very worn medium tires. Kinsey is on softs that still have some good life on them. So Kinsey trying to make a shot for a possible podium position. But with PRUFC and Herbinator back there in 5th and 6th only having 3 seconds of time penalties, I don't think that seems as likely as he'd like it to. Oh, Footballer made a big mistake. Kinsey made a lunge for it, ended up compromising him. Now PRUFC comes back, fighting side by side through the S's. They both go off circuit, and now Kinsey down plummets through the grid, back to the 6th position. He's under threat from Arctic Prodigy now. So now it's Herbinator's chance to maybe make a move on PRUFC, but PRUFC is just close enough to DR Footballer. He'll have DRS. He'll use that as a defense against the Williams. Kinsey has speed on the Williams of Herbinator. He'll get back by again. Oh, he's getting right into the side of PRUFC and the Mercedes. Is there damage on the Aston Martin? Here comes the Williams to the inside of the Aston Martin, and he'll sneak by just barely. Kinsey now seems to be hemorrhaging positions. He's not going well right now. He bunches up the Williams behind him. Arctic Prodigy, another time penalty. Kinsey now falls to 6th.
This is still really exciting. We're still 3 laps from the end. This is looking very close. There's our fast shoe. It's comfortably.
PRUFC dives to the inside of DR Footballer. Drag race for 3rd position down the straight, but the Mercedes has DRS. The AlphaTauri does not. Under braking, this should be an easy overtake for the Williams. No, it's not. That AlphaTauri is staying strong. They're still side by side for a position. And AlphaTauri gets back in front of the Mercedes, and now the Williams is back there fighting again for position. Herbinator just does not want to let these two get away.
I think it's a better exit there than PAUFC, although Herbinator's a really bad exit through there and won't have carried much too pace onto the straight. Although Kinsey Retro is close behind Herbinator now, with 46 DRS, goes for the move, isn't quite close enough. Doesn't get a great exit there. Although PRUFC...
Now DR Footballer in 3rd, and PRUFC in the Mercedes is barreling down him once more using DRS. Herbinator uses DRS to get by Kinsey going into the braking zone. Incredible fighting from about 3rd all the way back to 8th position right now as Prodigy gets by Lopez on the inside back there at the back of this massive bunch. It's not even a train because there's a lot of movement. It's just a massive bunch of cars.
Although Herbinator seems to have dropped out far from PAUFC and JR Football now. PAUFC will tend to get this podium here because JR Footballer has 6 seconds of penalties. It's only has 3. Stay with Herbinator currently. What's happened to Jigsaw?
Also, we're now seeing a scenario where everyone who pitted and threw on soft tires under that last safety car, those softs are now falling off. They've passed their peak window. At this point, the medium tires are starting to become more dominant, and I think that's why we're seeing the likes of PRUFC and Herbinator staying ahead of the likes of Kinsey Retro and Lopez on track.
So 2 laps left of the American Grand Prix. There we go, there's the country. And so far, SFR Shoe is dominating this last part of the race. 9-second gap to XR Zola.
Maybe 3rd time's a charm. The first 2 drivers that were dominating this race both were involved in poor strategy falls or incidents that dropped them out. PRUFC has just gone by JR Footballer using DRS down the straight. He timed it well enough. The Mercedes finally by the AlphaTauri. Now JR Footballer comes into the clutches of Herbinator, and Herbinator is on fresher medium tires than what Footballer has. And Footballer has fallen off almost a full second immediately from that Mercedes. I'm sorry, I almost said William. From that Mercedes in 3rd. He will close in a bit through 16, 17, 18, and 19. Will Footballer be close enough to maybe make another DRS overtake or at least pull alongside going into 1? DRS engages for Footballer once more. Trying to close in on the Mercedes, but he's just not close enough. He's still the better part of 4/10 out from the back of that Mercedes in 3rd. Ooh, JR Footballer squeezes right underneath the rear wing of the Mercedes going through the S's, then falls off a bit. He's going to have to close in again real quickly here if he wants to utilize DRS to get back by the Mercedes. Half a second gap between third and fourth. Herbinator is there as well, ready to capitalize. He's got double draft and DRS. JR Footballer just is not quite fast enough down the straight. He actually lost a bit of ground on the Mercedes. Here comes a Williams to the inside, can't make it stick. Lopez nearly go, no, Lopez does go off circuit, trying to get by Kinsey Retro. But he did do it, he did make it stick. Mr. Shark gets by Dad Stop Gaming. That is a fight for the last points paying position. Footballer has now almost totally fallen off the back. As I say that, now he starts to close back in again on PRUFC.
6-10,
the
could have him
AlphaTauri
down
will
the
not
swing.
say die.
Mr. Farshu.
No. PRUFC just got a time penalty as well. So with that in mind, now everyone second through fourth have 6 seconds worth of time penalty. So whoever is ahead coming across the line will have that spot by the looks of it.
Although we can't rule out Herbinator currently, by the current state of affairs with the penalties, he now gets the podium.
4/10 gap between third and fourth right now. JR Footballer seems to be a little bit closer through the S's, but has also compromised himself by just not being very fast in the straights. Even with DRS assists, he needs to suck right underneath that Mercedes. This is the last lap of the race, and the fight for the final podium position is still very much alive right now. Jigsaw gets by Arctic Prodigy for the 8th spot now. And he's only 7/10 off from Lopez. Here comes Footballer. He's gonna go to the outside of the Mercedes, side by side, neck and neck. AlphaTauri is gonna take the spot back. Here comes the Mercedes back. They're still fighting for position.
Well, that's what I think is PFC tries to fight back, but just by the dumb. Will he come back now? Well, he'll take down the inside.
Oh, yes, he does.
That could be an amazing
Incredible.
move. But who gets the better?
All right, out of the final corner, SFR Shoe will. Oh, SFR Shoe will take home the victory. Zola's gonna walk out here with the win. JR Footballer has third solid. They're side by side. Williams and Mercedes for fourth position. A little bit of contact, and the Mercedes is gonna lose. Not to say he's also might lose a position in Kinsey Retro. PRUFC has just completely collapsed on the final lap and coming across the line. Herbinator will take third. Footballer fourth. PRUFC fifth. Lopez sixth. Jigsaw seventh. Kinsey Retro eighth. Arctic Prodigy ninth. And for the last points paying position, it will be TAF Mr. Shark in 10th. No, 9th, I'm sorry. Mr. Shark actually jumped Frog's Prodigy. That was a race.
That was a very
That was
good race.
incredible. Normally I'm used to Dev being way more spread out than that, but that was incredible. Well, let's go ahead and try to invite our
Top three
podium
here.
finishers, or at least our race winner, into the party. But an outstanding job out there by Shu. Whew, I can barely believe all that happened.
That was incredible. The last few races were just races, laps. Wow, it's intense.
Hopefully, at least our winner is willing to jump into the party and talk with
Hopefully.
us.
I
Then
want
again, there was so much that happened there.
Yeah, you're
that
seeing it to be honest, but unfortunately.
Also of note, SFR Shu technically took this win from the pole position as well, so very, very good job on his part at that. Alright, here we are now. Coming into the party is our race winner, SFR Shu. Shu, go ahead, include your audio. You win from the pole position, but it wasn't an easy day. Walk us through the event from your perspective, Shu.
Well, I got a good start. Got away. Then the special safety car came out, and I got a drive-through penalty, so I had to serve that. It's up with someone coming out of the pits, but lucky enough they let me back through. So overall, I think the safety cars have saved my race. To be fair.
Well, still outstanding win from the pole position. Is this going to be what we see from you this season? You're going to try and go for the title this year in Dev with that kind of performance?
It's too early to say. We're only round 1, but yeah, hopefully I'll be able to do more performances like this and go for it.
Alright, well, outstanding drive, mate. You absolutely walked off in that final third of the race. You know, we were saying earlier in the broadcast, hey, everyone who's dominated this race at some point seems to be screwed over. Looks like it worked out for you. You got your screwed over bit taken care of early on.
Yeah, like I said, yeah, it all happened in the first 10 laps, so I still had, a good 20 laps to fight. But yeah, I think the safety car, when the safety car came out for the second time, lucky enough I was just at the pit entrance, so I put the softs on and it worked for me. So.
Alright, well, outstanding job, mate. Congratulations on your victory from the pole.
Thank you.
Now, we also want to go ahead and talk to our second place finisher, XRL Zola. Zola, good starting position, damage your front wing before you even get to turn 1 on the first lap, and yet by the end of the race, you're out there far away from everyone else in second. Walk us through the event from your perspective.
Well, some of the start of the race, they come straight across from me and just break right in front of me. That's how I got a broken wing. So there's not much I can do about that. There's no way I can react that fast. Them breaking like that. But so I mean, it happened, and I went down to 16th position, and basically I just went full send after that. So basically when I get angry, I storm through fields. I've done it multiple times this season and last season. So it's probably the worst thing to do is make me angry. I'm pretty much like Max Staff at the end of that race. Through the field.
Good to hear, good to hear.
Well,
We'll see you next Friday, by the way.
Oh yeah, yeah. But I'm saying it's typical me though. I qualify well for once, get damaged turn 1, go to the back of the field, and come straight through the field and go on the podium again. If I'm ever on the podium, I always start at the back again. But I don't think I've been on the podium at all any last season at all either. But if I qualify, if I start at the front, I have to go to the back first before I can come back through the field. I can never stay at the front and stay at the front as normal people do. I have to go at the back to work my way through and see everybody before I have to be on the podium to me. Like I have to wave to everybody as I'm passing and so going on the podium. But it is what it is.
well, irregardless, you did pull it off at the end and still come home.
It's my
second
it's my
at
worst
least,
track, so I'll take a podium on the worst track. It's my worst track by an absolute mile.
So what you're saying is
Well,
Dev Championship possible?
In 5 seasons, that's the second time I've ever finished a race. In 5,
Five
and that's,
seasons.
that's 5 seasons in Dev. That's the second time I finished this race, and out of the entire leagues I raced in, I think it's about 10 times I've raced here. I think I finished here 3 times.
Well,
And I finished.
At least
I finished 4th in SNA last week as well on Wednesday. So I finished in the top 4 all 3 races so far. And next and of course, realistically, he's in Brit, and that's another track I hate. So that's good. And that's in what? Now it's time. I get to do full distance Great Britain in a full wet conditions probably. You get to watch a wet Britain in an thing.
that'll be frustrating because with how heavy and how aerodynamic sensitive these cars are, there aren't going to be a whole lot of overtakes.
Oh, mate, through these S's tonight, someone said to me the other day on the Discord chat saying dirty air isn't that bad like it is in real life. And they're going through the S's today, being behind somebody was like being behind somebody on glass because literally there's no grip at all. How many times I know dropped it behind somebody?
Yeah, just watching through the S's at Coda in this race, it was like watching the entire field kind of accordion from about, depending on how big the group was. We would see like groups of like 6 cars all spread out, and then they'd all kind of accordion in the middle of the S's, and then accordion back out just before they get to the hairpin. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, so there's no grip. If you're behind somebody going through there, there's literally no grip whatsoever.
Alright, well, I do want to say, Zola, congratulations on your second place finish. Thank you for being willing to jump in and talk with us. Hopefully you're able to repeat what you were able to do here in Britain after you and I go ahead and jump through this wormhole to go across the Atlantic.
5 podiums now in the NSRL last 7 races, so I've basically been on the podium or I've been in the wall, so just one way either way.
Alright, well, thanks.
Right,
Mate, And for the most part, that will wrap up our broadcast here. I've been your host for today's race, Insane Leader 13. I've been joined by Alex Haig. Haig, thank you very much for having me here
You're very
for
welcome.
today's event. And for those of you who want to see a little bit more F1 2021 racing, in about an hour's time, I will be hosting the broadcast for the realistic race at Great Britain. Then tomorrow at 5 p.m. UK time on this channel, Kinsey Retro will be hosting the broadcast for the X1, the top tier, at the exact same time on the alternate channel. I'll be hosting the X3 broadcast. Those both will be at USA as well. Also at 8 p.m. UK time on the main channel will be the X2 race at USA. Until next time, though, I've been your host. Thank you very much.